Dead On with Randy Ulmer.
You know, for the past 30 years, the archery industry has really been focused on speed, and the need for speed has kind of waxed and waned, and it seems to be on pretty heavy again. And there are a lot of good reasons to shoot a fast bow, and back in the day, before the advent of laser rangefinders, I shot a really fast bow, and it saved my bacon on a lot of occasions when I misjudged the yardage to a deer. But now that everybody's using a laser rangefinder, including me, I don't think speed's nearly as important as it used to be. And I've slowed down my equipment quite a bit in the last 10 years, and I want to explain to you why. I've just found that I'm a lot more successful as a bow hunter when I shoot a slower arrow. And just to give you some perspective, my bow isn't really that slow. It's just a lot slower than the bow speeds that you see advertised in the magazines. I like an arrow speed somewhere around 270 feet per second. This seems to be the perfect balance between speed and forgiveness for my setup. And again, I'm not really shooting a slow bow, I'm just shooting a heavy arrow, and that's why it's a little slow. And I'd like to tell you some of the reasons why. Now, the number one reason I shoot a heavy arrow, as I mentioned before, is it just makes my setup more forgiving and more accurate. Extremely high-speed bows just aren't that easy for me to shoot well. And secondly, a heavier, slower arrow makes my bow a lot quieter, and I've lost a lot more big mule deer bucks by having them jump the string than for all the other reasons put together. I want my arrows to end up weighing about 500 grains, so I start out with a very stiff shaft, a heavy shaft. Stiff shafts are a little heavier, but they've always been more accurate for me than weak shafts, especially when I'm shooting broadheads. A stiffer shaft also penetrates better because the forward kinetic energy isn't wasted in bending the shaft when it hits. I also add a lot of weight to the front of the shaft to increase the total weight as well as the front of center. A high FOC, or front of center, improves accuracy, it improves forgiveness, and it also improves penetration. There are quite a few other advantages of shooting a heavy shaft. Out here in the west where I do most of my hunting, the wind's always blowing, and a heavier shaft just won't drift as far in the wind. The other thing is, a heavier shaft is less likely to be deflected by branches or deflected by bones.